Hey guys. This is what if Naruto was secretly the Fourth Hokage's clone. What if the boy everyone dismissed as the village outcast was actually the Fourth Hokage's greatest secret? In a desperate bid to protect Konoha from the Ninetales' impending attack, Minato Namikaze created a genetically modified clone of himself, a living contingency plan designed to house the beast and carry on his legacy. 12 years later, Naruto Uzumaki grows up unaware of his true origins, believing himself to be nothing more than the Ninetales Jinchuriki. But as dormant memories and abilities begin to surface, Naruto's world unravels. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start. What if Naruto was secretly the Fourth Hokage's clone? Chapter 1. The Contingency. Minato Namikaze stood before a glass chamber, watching the tiny form floating within the nutrient-rich solution. The Fourth Hokage's face reflected both determination and doubt as he monitored the experiment, his insurance policy against the worst. Using forbidden techniques from the Uzumaki clan archives and his own space-time ninjutsu expertise, he had created a perfect clone of himself, but with subtle genetic modifications. If I fall, he whispered, touching the glass, you will carry my will. The clone's development was incomplete. It would require years to reach maturity. But with the growing threat of the masked man and rumors of the Ninetales being targeted, Minato couldn't wait any longer. He had to prepare for every possibility. In the adjacent room, a heavily pregnant Kushina watched with mixed emotions. She understood the necessity but worried about the ethical implications. Are you certain this is necessary? She asked. I hope it won't be, Minato replied. But if something happens to us, this child will need a purpose. And the village will need protection. Neither could have predicted how soon their fears would be realized. Chapter 2. Hidden Truths. 12 years later, Naruto Uzumaki sat atop the Hokage monument, specifically on the stone head of the Fourth Hokage. The irony wasn't lost on the Third Hokage, who watched from his office window. He looks more like Minato every day, Hiruzen murmured to Jiraiya, who had just returned to the village. The resemblance is uncanny, Jiraiya agreed. Fortunately, Danzo still believes he's merely Minato and Kushina's biological son. He doesn't know the full truth. He believes Naruto is simply Minato's son, and the boy's accelerated healing? His enormous chakra reserves? Most attributed to the Ninetales. Few would guess he's actually a genetically modified clone designed specifically to house the fox. In the distance, Naruto laughed as he set up another prank, unaware that his existence was far more complex than he could imagine. Chapter 3. Awakening Abilities. During a training session with Team 7, Naruto instinctively dodged Kakashi's attack with a speed that momentarily left an afterimage, reminiscent of the Fourth Hokage. It's beginning, Hiruzen said gravely to Kakashi afterward. Minato theorized this might happen. The clone was created with dormant access to Minato's muscle memory and instincts. Under stress, these latent patterns can emerge. Is it dangerous? Kakashi asked. Not dangerous, but complicated. If Naruto begins accessing Minato's muscle memory or fighting instincts, questions will arise that we're not prepared to answer. As months passed, these incidents increased. During the Chunin exams, when fighting Neji, Naruto's movements occasionally shifted into patterns recognizable to the older Jonin as Minato's distinctive style, though executed with less refinement. Chapter 4. Orochimaru's Interest. Orochimaru, recovering from his battle with the Third Hokage, became obsessed with Naruto. Not just as Sasuke's teammate or the Ninetales Jinchuriki, but as something potentially more valuable. Kabuto, he rasped from his bed of recovery. Bring me everything we have on Minato Namikaze's research. And I want blood samples from the Ninetales boy. There's something about his cellular structure that interests me. Kabuto's subsequent analysis confirmed Orochimaru's suspicions. Naruto's DNA showed evidence of artificial engineering, with markers that matched Minato's genetic profile too closely to be mere father-son inheritance. A clone? Kabuto marveled. The Fourth Hokage created a clone of himself to house the Ninetales? Brilliant and audacious, and useful. Orochimaru smiled thinly. Very useful indeed. Chapter 5. Jiraiya's Dilemma. Away from the village on their training journey, Jiraiya watched Naruto struggle with the Rasengan. The boy was approaching it entirely wrong, yet occasionally would slip into the correct positioning without realizing it, only to lose it again. This is maddening, Jiraiya thought. His body remembers, but his conscious mind doesn't know what it's remembering. That night, Jiraiya received 2 coded messages. One from Tsunade. Orochimaru suspects. Increase security protocols. Avoid blood samples. The second from a hidden ANBU contact. Subject showing increased genetic memory activation. Acceleration may destabilize subject and risk Fox situation. Original creator left no protocol for revelation. Use your judgment if situation deteriorates. Primary directive remains containment and development. Jiraiya burned both messages, watching Naruto sleep. What right do we have to keep this from you? He whispered. But what chaos might come if you knew? Chapter 6. Akatsuki's Discovery. In their hidden base, the Akatsuki members received troubling intelligence from their spies. The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is developing unusual abilities, Setsu reported. Abilities that mirror the Fourth Hokage's techniques. Coincidence? Kisame dismissed. No, Toby interjected, his masked face revealing nothing. I've suspected something unusual about the boy's relationship to Minato Namikaze. The physical resemblance is too perfect, the chakra signature too similar. But it cannot be coincidence. After the meeting, Toby disappeared to his private chamber, ripping off his mask to reveal the scarred face of Obito Uchiha. Minato, he snarled. What did you do? Even in death, you found a way to preserve yourself? He smashed his fist into the wall. The Nine-Tails extraction just became more complicated. We need to capture the boy before he fully awakens to his potential. Chapter 7. Dreams and Memories. Naruto began experiencing strange dreams, memories that couldn't possibly be his own. He saw himself performing complex seals he never learned, felt the weight of the Hokage's hat, heard a red-haired woman laugh and say, "The baby's kicking." He would wake gasping, the name, Kushina, on his lips without knowing why. During a sparring session, Jiraiya attacked more aggressively than usual, forcing Naruto into a defensive corner. Instinctively, Naruto's fingers formed unfamiliar seals, and for a brief moment, space bent around him, a flicker of the flying thunder god technique that left both him and Jiraiya shocked. What just happened? Naruto asked, staring at his hands. Jiraiya's expression grew serious. I think it's time we had a talk about your father, Naruto. The real story. Chapter 8. The Hidden Laboratory. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Kakashi brought Naruto to a sealed underground facility beneath the Hokage Monument, a place protected by blood seals that recognized Naruto's DNA. The seals parted, revealing the hidden laboratory of the Fourth Hokage. What is this place? Naruto asked, uncomfortable with how familiar it felt. This is where you were born, Tsunade said carefully. But not in the way you think. She guided him to an ancient scroll, preserved in a sealed container. This is Minato's research journal. It's time you learned the truth about your origin. As Naruto read the journal, his world shattered and reformed. The truth was both simpler and more complex than he had imagined. He was not Minato and Kushina's biological son. He was Minato himself, genetically modified and reborn. So I'm just a copy? Naruto asked, his voice hollow. No, Jiraiya said firmly. The fact that your genetic origin is unusual doesn't make you any less Naruto Uzumaki. But I'm not Naruto Uzumaki, he shouted. Apparently, I'm some sort of backup copy of Minato Namikaze. The Nine-Tails chakra began to leak out as his emotions spiraled. Chapter 9. Identity Crisis. For weeks after the revelation, Naruto withdrew from his friends, spending days in punishing training regimens, as if trying to physically exhaust away his existential crisis. I sense two chakras fighting within him, Great Elder Toad Fukasaku observed. Not the boy and the fox, but the boy and the dormant patterns of the fourth. Can his psyche withstand this conflict? Jiraiya asked. That depends on whether he chooses to integrate or reject his genetic heritage, the Elder Toad replied. The Fourth Hokage designed him with the capacity for choice. That may prove to be his salvation or his undoing. Meanwhile, Orochimaru dispatched Kabuto on a dangerous mission to retrieve samples from the hidden laboratory and any remaining data on Minato's cloning techniques. Be cautious, Orochimaru warned. The boy is unstable now, which makes him unpredictable. Why not just capture him in this vulnerable state? Kabuto asked. Because, Kabuto, his friends are watching him more closely than ever. Especially Sasuke-kun. And because some part of you still cares what happens to your former teammate. Chapter 10. Convergence. On Mount Myaboku, Naruto finally entered the chamber within his mind where the Nine-Tails waited. So you've learned the truth, brat, the fox growled. Wondering if you're real? You knew? Naruto demanded. Of course. I was sealed into you moments after your birth. I watched the Fourth Hokage make his choice, to use his own genetic material rather than risk an incompatible host. Called you his son, but I'm not his son. I'm him. No. You're what he could have been in another life. He designed you with certain modifications, a stronger life force from the Uzumaki line, greater chakra reserves, and yes, compatibility with my chakra. But he also deliberately altered certain neural pathways to ensure you would develop your own personality. As they spoke, a third presence manifested in the mindscape, a shadowy echo of Minato, embedded as a failsafe within the seal, triggered by Naruto's emotional state. The shadow spoke, its voice distant. If you're hearing this, then I've failed and succeeded simultaneously. Failed to protect the village conventionally, but succeeded in creating you, my legacy, my contingency, my son in all the ways that matter. Naruto trembled. I don't understand. You are not me, Naruto. You were never meant to be me. You were meant to be yourself, with access to my abilities when needed. The village needed protection, and I couldn't trust that my biological child would have the necessary compatibility with the Nine Tails. So I created you, genetically my clone, but destined to be your own person. Chapter 11, Pain's Assault. In the Akatsuki hideout, Pain received urgent orders from Toby. The Nine Tails Jinchuriki is more dangerous than we realized. He doesn't just contain the fox, he contains the potential to become the Fourth Hokage reborn, with all his techniques and capabilities. We cannot allow him time to fully awaken those dormant abilities. Pain assembled all 6 paths and departed for Konoha immediately. In the village, Tsunade called an emergency meeting of the senior Jonin and ANBU captains. The time had come to reveal Naruto's true nature as Minato's genetically modified clone. The room erupted in shocked conversations. This changes our defense strategy, Shikaka Nara noted. If Akatsuki knows this, they'll come with overwhelming force to capture him before his potential fully awakens. Exactly, Tsunade confirmed. Which is why we must prepare for the worst. Chapter 12. Acceptance and Integration. On Mount Myaboku, Naruto made his decision. I can't change how I was created, he told Fukasaku. But I can choose who I become. Minato Namikaze created me to have these abilities when needed, so I'll accept them, but use them my way. Jiraiya smiled. That sounds exactly like something Naruto would say, not Minato. Their conversation was interrupted by a messenger toad appearing in a puff of smoke. Urgent news from Konoha, it croaked. The village is under attack by Pain. All 6 paths have been sighted. I have to go back, Naruto said immediately. You haven't mastered Sage Mode completely, Fukasaku warned. And I haven't fully integrated the Force techniques either, Naruto acknowledged. But I don't need to be perfect, I just need to be me. As they prepared for reverse summoning, Jiraiya placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. The Flying Thunder God technique will be crucial against Pain. But you couldn't access it fully until you accepted your dual nature. The technique requires perfect harmony between conscious understanding and muscle memory. You weren't ready until now. Chapter 13, Homecoming. Pain's assault on Konoha was devastating. 5 of the 6 paths methodically destroyed the village's defenses while the Deva path confronted Tsunade directly. Where is the Nine Tails Jinchuriki? Pain demanded. Before Tsunade could answer, a flash of yellow appeared on a nearby rooftop. Naruto had arrived in Sage Mode, kunai with special seals having been thrown into strategic positions. Looking for me? He called to Pain. The Deva path turned slowly. Interesting. You've awakened to your true nature sooner than anticipated. Not my true nature, Naruto corrected. Just a part of who I am, irrelevant. You will come with us now, or watch your village perish completely. Neither, Naruto replied, and vanished in a yellow flash. What followed was a battle that stunned even the veteran shinobi. Naruto combined Sage Mode with elements of the Flying Thunder God technique, but executed them distinctively. Where Minato had been methodical and minimalist, Naruto employed the techniques with his characteristic flair and determination. When Pain's Chibaku Tensei threatened to capture him, Naruto found himself in the deepest part of his mindscape, confronting not just the Nine Tails, but the residual chakra imprint of Minato. You can take more of my power, the fox offered, but at the cost of your control, and you can access more of my techniques, the Minato imprint added, but risk losing yourself in my memories. Naruto stood firm between them. I'll take what I need from both of you, but I'll use them my way. Outside, the observers were astonished when Naruto emerged from the Chibaku Tensei in a new form, combining aspects of the Nine Tails chakra mode with techniques clearly derived from the Fourth Hokage, yet executed in ways Minato would never have attempted. Chapter 14, Truth Revealed. With Pain defeated and Nagato convinced to use his Rinne rebirth to restore those killed in the attack, Naruto returned to a hero's welcome. But he knew the time for secrets had passed. In the rebuilt village square, with the 5 nations' representatives in attendance, Tsunade made a public announcement. "The time has come for the truth about Naruto Uzumaki to be known," she declared. "In preparation for the Nine-Tails attack 12 years ago, Minato Namikaze created a genetic contingency, a modified clone of himself specifically designed to contain the Nine-Tails if the worst happened." Gasps and shocked conversations erupted. That contingency was Naruto. However, she raised her voice over the din. While his genetic origin is unusual, Naruto Uzumaki has proven himself to be his own person, a shinobi of Konoha who has saved us all not because of his genetics, but because of his heart. The reaction was mixed, some villagers fearful, others curious, some supportive. "The Fourth Hokage created me as a safeguard for the village," Naruto addressed the crowd. "I intend to honor that purpose, not by becoming him, but by being the best version of myself I can be." Chapter 15. A New Path. 6 months later, Konoha had been largely rebuilt. The revelation about Naruto's origin had caused initial turmoil, but his actions during the pain attack had earned him respect that transcended fear of his unusual nature. Standing atop the Hokage monument, Naruto spoke with Kakashi about the memories that occasionally still surfaced. "They're like echoes now," he explained. "Stories I've been told, not experiences I've lived. They inform me without defining me." In the distance, a group of academy students pointed up at him excitedly. "They're calling you the second Yellow Flash now," Sakura noted. Naruto shook his head. "I'm not the second Yellow Flash. I'm the first Naruto Uzumaki," Sakura smiled. "I like that better too." As they walked through the village, Naruto noticed the mixed reactions he still received: respect, curiosity, and occasional wariness. The truth of his origin remained controversial, especially among the older generation who remembered the Fourth Hokage well. "It's strange," Naruto said quietly. "I have his face, his DNA, some of his abilities, but I'm nothing like him in the ways that matter most." "That's what makes you Naruto," Sakura replied. "You've taken what could have been a burden and made it your strength. Just like you did with the Nine-Tails." In his private moments, Naruto still studied the Fourth's techniques from the journals recovered from the hidden laboratory. But he adapted each one, making them uniquely his own. His version of the Flying Thunder God used shadow clones as markers rather than kunai, less precise but more unpredictable, perfectly suited to his fighting style. The shinobi world watched this development with interest. Some with hope, others with calculation. Among the latter was Tobi, who had indeed surpassed the original, exactly as Minato had secretly hoped. Chapter 16. The Hunter's Gambit. The news of Naruto's true origin spread beyond Konoha's borders like wildfire. While the village had come to accept their unusual hero, the wider shinobi world reacted with a mixture of fear, fascination, and calculation. In a dimly lit cavern, Tobi called an emergency meeting of the remaining Akatsuki members. "Our intelligence is confirmed," he announced, his single Sharingan gleaming through his mask. "The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is not merely Minato Namikaze's legacy, he is Minato Namikaze, genetically speaking. A clone specifically engineered to house the Nine-Tails." Kisame's sharp teeth gleamed in a predatory smile. "No wonder the brat was so troublesome. We've been hunting the Yellow Flash's duplicate all along. This changes our approach," Tobi continued. "The boy is rapidly integrating dormant abilities from his genetic template. If he fully awakens to Minato's potential while controlling the Nine-Tails, he becomes nearly unstoppable." Zetsu finished. "Precisely. Which is why we must act now, while he's still reconciling his dual nature," Kisame hefted Samahada. "So what's the plan?" "Direct assault failed spectacularly for pain, not direct assault," Tobi replied. "Something more psychological. The boy's greatest strength has always been his bonds with others. Now he faces an identity crisis that we can exploit." He turned to the newest member of their group, a figure shrouded in darkness. "You understand what it means to question your very existence, don't you?" "Kabuto?" Kabuto Yakushi stepped forward, his appearance now disturbingly altered with Orochimaru's cells integrated into his body. "Indeed," he hissed, adjusting his glasses. "And I've been developing a technique that might be particularly effective against someone struggling with questions of identity and authenticity." His hands formed a complex seal sequence. "Impure world reincarnation. With a special modification." Tobi's eye narrowed. "You can resurrect the Fourth Hokage?" "Not exactly," Kabuto smiled. "The Fourth Soul is sealed within the Reaper Death Seal. But I don't need his soul, just his DNA. And thanks to Orochimaru's research, I have samples from before the Nine-Tails attack." You're proposing to create a reanimated body of Minato Namikaze without his soul? Zetsu asked. A perfect empty vessel, Kabuto confirmed. One that I can control completely. Imagine the psychological impact on our target, facing the original template from which he was copied, but twisted to our purposes, and while the boy is emotionally compromised. Toby added. We strike, Kisame laughed darkly. Making the clone face the original? That's deliciously cruel, even by my standards, beyond psychological warfare. Kabuto continued. This creates a tactical advantage. The boy has been integrating the Force techniques through genetic memory, but incompletely. My reanimation will have perfect access to all of Minato's abilities, a superior version to confuse and outmatch him. Toby nodded slowly. Proceed with the preparation. We'll need to draw him out, away from Konoha's protection. I believe I know exactly how to do that, Kabuto replied, producing a vial of blood. With this sample from our target, I can create a connection that will call to him, a genetic resonance he won't be able to ignore. In the shadows, the remaining Akatsuki members began plotting the most psychologically devastating trap they had ever conceived, one designed to break not just Naruto's body, but his very sense of self. Chapter 17, Echoes of Self. Naruto jolted awake in his apartment, sweat beading on his forehead. For weeks, he had felt a strange pull, a resonance in his chakra that seemed to call to him from somewhere beyond the village borders. At first, he dismissed it as after effects of integrating more of the Force techniques, but the sensation grew stronger each day. A knock at his door revealed Kakashi, his expression grave. You've been feeling it too, haven't you? Kakashi asked without preamble. Naruto nodded. Something's calling to me. It started as dreams, but now I feel it even when I'm awake. Tsunade wants to see you. Now, in the Hokage's office, Shikamaru was already presenting his analysis alongside a concerned Tsunade. Our border sensors have detected an unusual chakra signature, Shikamaru explained, pointing to a map. It appears and disappears at regular intervals, always at sunset. What's troubling is its composition. It contains traces that match both the Fourth Hokage's chakra signature and yours, Naruto. That's impossible, Naruto said. Unless someone has acquired samples of both your DNA and Minato's. Tsunade finished grimly. Our intelligence suggests Kabuto has joined Akatsuki and is experimenting with the impure world reincarnation technique. They're trying to lure me out, Naruto realized, clenching his fists. So what do we do? Standard procedure would be to keep you in the village under protection, Tsunade said. But that's exactly what they expect, Shikamaru interjected. They'll keep escalating until you respond or they find another way to force your hand. We need to spring their trap on our terms, Naruto realized. With our own counter-trap, Tsunade nodded reluctantly. That's the plan. But Naruto, you need to be prepared for what you might face. Our intelligence suggests Kabuto has joined the Akatsuki and may be using a reanimated version of Minato's body, without his soul, as a weapon against you. Naruto was silent for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he smiled. They don't understand, do they? They think making me face Minato will break me. His eyes shone with determination. But I've already faced the hardest part, accepting who and what I am. I'm ready for this. Chapter 18, Original versus Copy. The trap was set in a valley 3 days' journey from Konoha. Naruto approached alone, as planned, while Konoha's elite forces concealed themselves strategically around the perimeter. The sunset painted the sky crimson as Naruto reached the center of the valley. The pull was strongest here, an uncomfortable tugging at his very cells. I know you're there, he called out. Show yourself, Kabuto. A chuckle echoed from the shadows as Kabuto emerged, his appearance even more snake-like than reports had suggested. Naruto Uzumaki, or should I call you Minato 2.0? Kabuto smirked. How does it feel to be a laboratory experiment that gains sentience? Better than being whatever you've turned yourself into, Naruto replied evenly. Where's the rest of your group? Oh, they're around. But first, I thought you might enjoy a family reunion. Kabuto formed a seal. After all, every clone should meet its original. The ground cracked as a coffin emerged. When its lid fell away, Naruto found himself staring at an exact replica of the Fourth Hokage, but with dead eyes and cracked skin showing the imperfections of the impure world reincarnation. He's not Minato, Naruto said firmly. Just an empty shell you're controlling. True. The real Minato's soul remains in the Reaper Death Seal. But his body and techniques are mine to command. Kabuto adjusted his glasses. I wonder, when I make him destroy you, will it count as suicide or patricide? The reanimated Minato suddenly flashed forward with the legendary speed of the yellow flash. Naruto barely managed to dodge, feeling the wind of the attack brush his cheek. "You see?" Kabuto laughed. "The original is always superior to the copy." What followed was a brutal exchange of techniques. The reanimated Minato executed perfect flying thunder god teleportations, while Naruto countered with his hybrid style, less refined but more unpredictable. "You're fighting like him," Kabuto observed as Naruto allowed the reanimation to land a glancing blow. "I'm not trying to be a perfect copy." As the battle intensified, Toby and the remaining Akatsuki members emerged from hiding, engaging the Konoha forces that had been concealed around the valley. The trap and counter-trap had both been sprung. In the center of the chaos, Naruto found himself locked in combat with his genetic template. Each exchange revealed the fundamental difference between them. The reanimation fought with cold efficiency, while Naruto fought with heart and improvisation. "You're losing," Kabuto taunted as the reanimated Minato drove Naruto back. "The perfect version will always defeat the flawed copy." "Perfect?" Naruto laughed, wiping blood from his lip. "That's where you're wrong. Minato was brilliant, but he had limitations, ones I don't share." Suddenly, Naruto's strategy became clear. Dozens of Naruto clones appeared, each flashing with the yellow chakra of the Ninetales mode. "Minato Namikaze never used shadow clones with the Flying Thunder God," Naruto explained as his clones surrounded the reanimation. "Too chakra-intensive, too unpredictable." "But I'm not him." What followed was a dazzling display as Naruto and his clones teleported in complex patterns, each jump creating new seal markers for others to use. The battlefield became a three-dimensional web of yellow flashes too complex for even Kabuto to track. "Impossible," Kabuto muttered as the reanimation struggled to counter the unpredictable attack pattern. Realizing his plan was failing, Kabuto made a desperate move. "Enough games. I'll show you the true power of this reanimation." He forced the reanimated Minato into a forbidden state, sacrificing control for raw power. The corpse began to glow with unnatural chakra. "I've modified this body to access the Reaper Death Seal from the outside," Kabuto explained frantically. "If I can't capture you, I'll tear open the boundary between life and death." The air around them distorted as the reanimation began a complex sequence of seals, ones that Naruto recognized from his genetic memory as components of the Reaper Death Seal. But something was wrong. The technique wasn't stabilizing. To everyone's shock, the technique backfired spectacularly. Instead of opening a rift to the Reaper, the corpse itself began to disintegrate. "What's happening?" Kabuto demanded, trying desperately to maintain control. From within the disintegrating reanimation, a faint glow emerged, a small portion of Minato's actual soul, responding to the attempted manipulation of his signature technique. "The Reaper Death Seal is a contract written in the sealer's blood and soul," Naruto explained, understanding flowing through his genetic memory. "You can't invoke it using just a physical copy. The technique is rejecting your control. This isn't over," Kabuto hissed, making hand signs to escape. "Actually, it is," came Kakashi's voice as he appeared behind Kabuto, Raikiri charged and ready. "For you, at least." Across the battlefield, the Akatsuki forces were in retreat. Toby, realizing the failure of their plan, disappeared into his dimensional vortex, but not before fixing his Sharingan on Naruto. "Interesting," he murmured. "The copy has indeed surpassed the original in unexpected ways. We will meet again, Naruto Uzumaki." As the dust settled, Naruto stood in the crater where the reanimated Minato had disintegrated, a small smile on his face. The battle had been won, but more importantly, he had faced the original template of his creation and proven himself to be more than just a copy. Chapter 19: Ripples Across Nations. The aftermath of the battle spread ripples throughout the shinobi world. The capture of Kabuto and several Akatsuki members had dealt a severe blow to the organization's operations. In the Hokage's office, Tsunade reviewed the latest intelligence reports with Naruto and Shikamaru. "Akatsuki has gone to ground," she concluded. "With Kabuto's knowledge of their operations, we've been able to disrupt their remaining networks significantly." "And Toby?" Naruto asked. "Still at large, but isolated. Without Pain or the others, his resources are limited." Shikamaru leaned back in his chair. "What's interesting is how the other villages are responding to you now, Naruto. After word spread about how you defeated a reanimated Fourth Hokage, your reputation has taken on almost mythical proportions. That's not necessarily a good thing." Naruto frowned. "Actually, it might be," Tsunade remarked. "Several Kage have specifically requested your presence." "As what? A weapon? A curiosity?" Naruto asked. "As a diplomat," Tsunade smiled. Your unique perspective is valuable. You understand better than anyone what it means to integrate different identities into a cohesive whole. Later that day, Naruto visited the special memorial that had been created for Minato and Kushina. Unlike his previous visits, which had been filled with confusion and questions, this one brought a sense of peace. I understand now, he said quietly to the stone. You didn't create me to be you. You created me to be what the village needed, someone who could protect it in ways even you couldn't imagine. I'm not your replacement or your continuation. I'm the result of your hope for the future. As he turned to leave, he found Sakura waiting for him at a respectful distance. The others are waiting at Ichiraku, she said. Iruka-sensei is treating. Naruto grinned. Some things never change, and some things do, she replied, glancing at the new jacket he wore, orange and black, but with subtle elements reminiscent of the Fourth's design. In good ways. As they walked through the village, citizens greeted Naruto with genuine warmth. Children ran up asking for demonstrations of his techniques, no longer seeing him as the Nine-Tails boy or the Fourth's clone, but simply as Naruto, their hero. Chapter 20. Legacy Redefined. 1 year after the battle with Kabuto's reanimated Minato, Konoha hosted an unprecedented Five Hokage summit. The shinobi world was changing, with new alliances forming in the wake of Akatsuki's decline. At Ichiraku Ramen, Naruto celebrated with his friends the night before the summit. So what's this big secret summit about? Kiba asked between bites. More Hokage in training business? Ino teased. Something like that. Naruto replied with a mysterious smile. Later that evening, after the celebration, Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument, looking out over the village. Kakashi joined him, hands in his pockets. Tsunade told me about the Five Hokage summit, Kakashi said. It's a big step. Yeah. Never thought I'd be asked to represent Konoha diplomatically. Times change. People change. Kakashi glanced sideways at his former student. You've managed something remarkable, Naruto. You've taken what could have been a crippling identity crisis and transformed it into strength. Not many could have done that, Naruto smiled, watching the stars emerge above the village. I had help. Good teachers, better friends. And tomorrow? Kakashi asked. Tomorrow I propose the allied shinobi forces become permanent, not just a wartime alliance, but a lasting peace. The Five Hokage are ready to listen, because of you, Kakashi noted. The boy who was created as a weapon has become the architect of peace. In his apartment that night, Naruto opened a journal, one he had started keeping after learning the truth of his origin. On a fresh page he wrote, Today I realized something important. The Fourth Hokage created me as a safeguard for the village, but my purpose has evolved beyond what even he could have imagined. I'm not just Konoha's protector, I'm becoming a bridge between all the allied villages. The genetic memory fragments still appear occasionally in dreams, but they no longer confuse or trouble me. They're simply another resource, another connection to the past that helps me navigate the future. Tomorrow at the summit, I'll speak not as Minato Namikaze's clone, not as the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, but as Naruto Uzumaki, a shinobi who understands what it means to contain multitudes and still remain whole. The following day, as Naruto addressed the Five Hokage and their advisors, he spoke with a clarity and vision that impressed even the skeptical Tsuchikage. His proposal for a permanent alliance structure, with rotating leadership and shared resources, was revolutionary but compelling. The old world was built on secrets and suspicion, Naruto concluded. I was born from one such secret. But I've learned that acknowledging our complex truths doesn't weaken us, it makes us stronger. The same can be true for our villages. As the summit concluded with tentative agreement to explore his proposal further, Gaara approached him privately. You've found your answer then? The Kazekage asked. About who you truly are? Naruto nodded. I'm not just one thing. I'm the Fourth Hokage's genetic legacy. I'm the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. I'm Jiraiya's student and Iruka's troublemaker. But most importantly, I'm myself, the sum of all those parts and something more. Gaara smiled slightly. That's why they listen to you. You embody the very integration you propose for our villages. In the months that followed, the allied shinobi forces transformed from a wartime necessity into a foundation for lasting peace. Naruto traveled between villages, sometimes as an official diplomat, sometimes simply as himself, building bridges through friendship and understanding. The threat of Tobi, eventually revealed as Obito Uchiha, was ultimately neutralized not through battle alone, but through a combination of force and reconciliation that only Naruto could have orchestrated. His unique perspective as someone created for one purpose but who chose his own path resonated with Obito in ways no one else could have reached. 5 years after learning the truth of his creation, Naruto stood before the village as Tsunade placed the Hokage hat on his head. The crowd's cheers were deafening, not for the Fourth Hokage's clone, but for Naruto Uzumaki, the 7th Hokage of Konoha. In his first address, he spoke words that would be recorded in the village's history. I was created in a laboratory as a contingency plan, a living weapon designed to protect this village if all else failed. That origin could have defined me, limited me to being merely an echo of someone else's legacy. Instead, with your help, it became just the beginning of my story. He looked out at the faces of his precious people, Sakura, Sasuke, Kakashi, Iruka, and so many others who had accepted him for who he was, not what he was made to be. Today, I stand before you not as anyone's copy or replacement, but as myself, shaped by my experiences, my choices, and the bonds we've formed together. That is the true legacy of the Will of Fire, not that we become what others designed us to be, but that we grow beyond those expectations to create something new. That night, atop the Hokage monument, Naruto Uzumaki, once feared as the Nine-Tails demon, once confused as the Fourth's clone, now respected as the 7th Hokage, looked out over the peaceful village. The legacy of Minato Namikaze lived on, not as a perfect replication, but as something more profound, a testament to the power of choosing one's own path without being bound by it, embodied in a young man who carried his genetics but charted his own destiny. In the gentle evening breeze, Naruto could almost feel the approval of those who had come before, not because he had fulfilled their exact vision, but because he had honored their hopes while creating something entirely his own. I did it, Dad, he whispered to the stars. I became more than your legacy. I became myself. Epilogue full circle. 20 years later, an aging Naruto sat in his office, the responsibilities of Hokage now familiar weight on his shoulders. Before him stood a young genin team, fresh from the academy, eager for their first real mission. Hokage-sama, their Jonin instructor began. Team 7 reporting for duty. Naruto smiled at the coincidence of the team number. Your first C-rank mission. Are you ready? The 3 genin straightened, determination evident in their young faces. Before you go, Naruto said, his voice softening, let me tell you something important. He rose from behind his desk and approached them. Each of you has a unique story, a family legacy, personal talents, perhaps even burdens you carry. Those things are part of you, but they don't define you. He touched the shoulder of a young Hyuga girl, whose eyes showed both the strength of her clan and uncertainty about living up to its expectations. Your path is your own to choose. The greatest shinobi aren't those who perfectly fulfill others' expectations. They're the ones who find their own way forward, who take what they've been given and transform it into something new. As the team departed, Shikamaru entered with a stack of reports. Giving the new generation the benefit of your wisdom? He asked with a knowing smile. Just something I wish someone had told me clearly when I was their age, Naruto replied. Later that evening, Naruto visited the expanded memorial stone, where new names had been added over the years. His fingers traced the familiar engravings, Minato Namikaze, Kushina Uzumaki. I understand now why you did it, he said quietly. Creating me wasn't just about preserving your abilities or protecting the village. It was an act of hope, believing that something of yourself could continue, could grow and change in ways you couldn't predict. He placed a small offering before the stone, a 3-pronged kunai alongside a bowl of fresh ramen. I hope I've made you proud, not by being your perfect copy, but by becoming something you could never have imagined. As he turned to leave, he caught sight of his own face on the Hokage monument, carved alongside those who had come before. His likeness showed the whisker marks that had once marked him as different, now a symbol of his unique journey. In the village below, children played ninja games, some pretending to be the legendary Yellow Flash, others the heroic 7th Hokage. Few now remembered or cared about the connection between them, that one had been created from the other's DNA. What mattered were the stories they told, the values they represented, the legacy they had each built in their own way. And in that legacy, Naruto had found his answer. He was neither a mere copy nor a complete original. He was the living proof that even the most carefully designed plan could evolve into something wonderfully unexpected. His existence, once a contingency for disaster, had become instead a bridge to a future brighter than his creator could have dreamed. The story of Naruto Uzumaki, the 4th Hokage's clone who became the 7th Hokage, would be told for generations. Not as a tale of scientific achievement or genetic engineering, but as a testament to the enduring truth that we are all more than the circumstances of our creation. We are the choices we make, the bonds we form, and the legacies we build, one precious day at a time. The end.